Starfield has just provided gamers with the perfect reason to pick up an Xbox. Before now, Xbox has really struggled to have any system sellers. For example, Sony has games like Spider-Man, or games like God of War Ragnarok or Ratchet and Clank to really give it its system selling value, but Xbox has really struggled in this in the past, and has done until today. That's where Starfield comes in. Here are 3 reasons as to why you should consider picking up Starfield and making it your reason to buy an Xbox. We're going to go down 3 things. Number 1, the sheer size of Starfield. Number 2, the variety of the gameplay in Starfield. And then finally we'll go on to number 3, which is the sheer breadth of the story present here in Starfield. My Starfield coverage will be increasing more and more in the coming weeks, so if you're interested to see that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And with that being said, guys, let's get right into our first reason. Off we go. So of all the reasons to pick up Starfield, its sheer size is most definitely the top reason for most people. When people pick up a system seller, or a game that they consider to be a system seller, it will quite often be the only game that they pick up on that system, even to start with. That means that game needs to provide ample value for each and every player. Look at games such as The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or maybe even games such as Horizon Forbidden West or Gran Turismo 7. My point is, Sony has had system sellers ever since the dawn of the PS5 era. Xbox has struggled slightly in that regard, with games such as Halo Infinite really failing to sell the system to its full potential. On comes Starfield, a game so massive that it rivals the size of even games such as Elden Ring. If you look at reviewers' playtime for games such as Starfield, I haven't seen a single review that's been credible that's had a Starfield playthrough that's ended in under 80 hours. That is some serious game. Not only that, but the game is absolutely chock full of things to do, start to finish. That's the big thing with games such as Starfield. That little factor might either entice you or scare you, but with my experience with Starfield so far, and I'm about 15 hours in, there is a lot that you can be doing from the very second that you step into that galaxy. It's not as overwhelming as some people might make you believe, because the thing with Starfield is that it guides you into these situations completely organically, and that's where the next important point of this video comes into light, and that is the sheer variety of gameplay that Starfield provides is definitely enough to make it a system seller on its own right, and that's without the story tacked on at the end. Let me explain. Are you into first-person shooters? Third-person shooters? How about shipbuilding games? Or even simulator games? Are you into story games? Or are you into more action games? Starfield has you covered in every single one of these points. There is just so much to do in every aspect of Starfield's galaxy, and that's why I found myself struggling to concentrate on one particular thing. I've been saying that I'm going to start the main campaign for every single minute of the last 15 hours, but every time I try to, I get caught into a completely unrelated series of side quests or other activities. Take shipbuilding for instance. I started the game with the basic ship that you're given at the start of the game, and I used that for the first maybe 5, 6, 7 hours. After that, I made a couple of modifications to it, painted it a different colour, but didn't change that much. At about hour 13 or 14, however, I decided it was time for a switch up. I then spent about 4 hours mining bounties in order to gain money, and I then spent about an hour, maybe an hour and a half designing the absolute perfect ship for me and then building it. My ship now does everything that I want it to do, and I'm still considering ways I could upgrade it or make it better. That's the creativity that this system really affords you, and it's not only that Starfield offers you either. Are you looking for a series of side quests to get yourself lost into while you have a break from the main quest? Starfield had you covered there. I was supposed to be doing a mystical quest about ancient artifacts, and that was the main quest, but I ended up actually just trying to get some mining equipment for some guy who'd had them stolen. There is a serious amount of content here that will keep you busy for hours on end, and it's not even just the main quest that does that like it does in other games. Side quests here are genuinely engrossing, and it's not like we should be surprised because this is a Bethesda game we're talking about here. But it's the Bethesda-ness of this game that really carries it through. That doesn't quite lead us into the story quite yet, however, as I think I have to talk about the combat a little bit first, because it's great with flaws. Characters and enemies in Starfield are quite spongy, so be prepared for that. But what is good, however, is they give you a lot of ways to tackle each challenge you could be going into. Look at the ship combat, for instance. There are many ways to target a ship rather than just shooting it. You can target it with different sorts of weapons. You can even target a ship's engines, and once you've downed the engines, you can then go close to the ship and board it yourself. That's actually been something I've really enjoyed doing. It's almost given me that feeling that Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag gave me when that released. Gunplay, however, is slightly weak. I would say that it's much better than any other Bethesda game's been before, but that by no means means that it's a Call of Duty or anything even vaguely similar to something like an Apex Legends. This is very firmly a story game with some combat added on, but that combat is so good, or at least good enough, that it's not going to make or break this game for you. It'll instead just add to your experience, or maybe slightly take away from it if you really don't gel with it. I took a while, but then I gelled with it, and now I'm looking for excuses to go into that combat. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's go to the part of this game that makes it truly Bethesda, the story. Starfield really is the game of 1,000 stories. Everywhere you go, you'll be shepherded completely organically into several different side quests. That can be something just as simple as hearing someone say something to someone else, and there you go, side quest triggered, or seeing someone leaning against the wall and going up to talk to them before realising that they're actually a bounty hunter. They want to recruit you into their organisation. Then will unlock bounty brokers for you, which is another great way to make money. The main story, however, is a massive epic that I'm yet to make its way through, so I reserve judgment on that story, but all I can say is after about the 10 or 15 hour mark, it really starts to ramp up. And I'm normally a big advocate as if a game isn't good in the first 5 hours, it's probably not worth the wait. Starfield, however, is so massive that it's worth every minute of your playtime to get to the good bit, because even when it's not the good bit, it's still a very good game. When it hits its stride, however, that's when it becomes the system seller that Xbox fans and gamers alike have been looking for. Starfield is absolutely worth your time. You should be picking it up as soon as possible. It's on Game Pass, and it's also on various other online storefronts if you're on PC. And if you want it, or if you think it looks even vaguely to your taste, I highly recommend to pick it up. It's got something for everyone. It's a very rare game in that regard. If you're looking for a bit more coverage on Starfield and you're not sure if you want to buy it or not, I'll have several videos coming out over the next few weeks that will be covering various different things to let you know if your purchase of Starfield is one that you should make or not. In my opinion, everyone should play it. However, there'll be several details coming out on the problems of Starfield, as well as its merits in more detail. If you're interested in checking out any of that, be sure to subscribe down below, click the like button if you enjoyed this video, let me know what you thought of Starfield down in the comments and let me know if you played it. And with that being said guys, I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.